I'm going to ask you this because it's important. 10 people died here today. 15 people were seriously injured. I think it's important to ask how you feel about that.
I feel like I accomplished my mission.
You feel like you accomplished your mission?
Yes.
Okay.
Jealousy is no more than feeling alone against smiling enemies. It lives upon doubts. It becomes madness or ceases entirely as soon as we pass from doubt to certainty. As iron is eaten by rust, so are the envious consumed by envy. Comparison is a very foolish attitude because each person is unique and incomparable. Once this understanding settles in, the jealousy disappears. However, some people want everything to go wrong for you because nothing is going right for them. This is especially the case for 28-year-old Alek Minassian, who is single-handedly responsible for the demise of 10 unsuspecting victims, as well as 16 other individuals getting severely injured in the process. In this episode of the True Crime Corner, we dive into the case of the Toronto van attack, the deadliest vehicle rampage in Canadian history. Alek Minassian was born November 3, 1992, and grew up in the Toronto suburb of Richmond Hill with hardworking immigrant parents and a brother. Neighbors said the Minassians kept to themselves, but that private nature isn't unusual for a busy suburban middle-class family. Minassian had attended Thornlea Secondary School, where his former classmates described him as awkward and not overly social. In class, he would fidget and twitch, make random noises, meow like a cat, and sometimes even spit on himself. Some of his peers were unsure if he even spoke English since he was quiet all the time, but he was once quoted on saying, "I'm afraid of girls." Some of his behavior is typical of those who were diagnosed with autism, which he had. However, his general personality is very awkward and off-putting. Given his physical appearance and his behavior in social settings, it's easy to understand why he has been rejected and bullied his entire life. Minassian attended Seneca College from 2011 to 2018 and had multiple jobs related to programming and software development. He was very courteous and diligent when it came to professional settings, but all his past employers say he never really fit in and was awkward in most social situations. In 2017, he enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces for 2 months before requesting voluntary release after only 16 days of recruit training. According to a senior military official, Minassian wasn't adapting to the military life. It seems like anywhere he goes, he can't manage to fit in and is often outcasted. This type of environment can have a real negative effect on a person's state of mind, and Minassian was no exception. He eventually found himself belonging to the incel community. Incels, short for involuntary celibates, are members of an online subculture who desire a romantic or sexual partner but are unable to find one, resulting in them having a violent and misogynistic mentality towards women. Some incels see violence as the only solution to what they see as societal oppression and abuse against them, and speak frequently of incel uprisings and revolts. Discussion in incel communities endorse violence against sexually active women and more sexually successful men. They are identified as the Chads and Stacys of the world by the incels. This mindset of resentment and inferiority inhabited by incels is what led to the tragic incident conducted by our subject, Alek Minassian. It was just another regular day, April 23, 2018. Minassian woke up around 7 a.m., had breakfast, checked his email, and went for a walk around his neighborhood. After some time had passed, he then got a lift from his father to a Starbucks that was close to a vehicle rental place called Ryder. He told his dad he was just meeting a friend. 3 weeks prior, he had called Ryder and booked a Chevrolet Express van. He later confessed to a detective during an interrogation that he was specifically looking for a truck for the sole reason that it would be large enough to inflict severe damage. At 12:30 p.m., Minassian arrives at the Ryder rental store. He filled out some forms, paid a $400 deposit, and was on his way to downtown Toronto. Moments before his rampage started, he addresses the incel community through his Facebook status one last time.
The incel rebellion has already begun. All hail the supreme gentleman, Elliot Rodger.
Let's pause right there. Who is Elliot Rodger, and why did Minassian mention him in his post? For that, we're gonna need to go 4 years in the past all the way to May 2014.
Hi, Elliot Rodger here. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you.
This is Elliot Rodger, a 22-year-old university student who is also very active in the incel community and is now regarded as a legend amongst incels. He posted this video as well as many others before going on his own killing spree.
And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up, blonde slut I see inside there. All those girls that I've desired so much, they would have all rejected me and looked down upon me as an inferior man.
Elliot's rampage consisted of him stabbing and shooting victims, as well as running over pedestrians with his car, totaling in 6 victims being murdered and 14 others injured. After the dust had settled, police found Rodger dead inside his car from a self-inflicted gun wound to the head. The actions conducted by Elliot have echoed throughout time and have inspired many other incels. By posting videos and releasing a manifesto, he has become idolized and gained a following of people who can relate to his sorrow and want to be just like him, some of which are willing to go to the full extent that he did, Minassian included. Let's take it back to the day of the Toronto van attack. It started off at around 1:20 p.m. on Yonge Street and Finch Avenue. It was here where he drove onto the curb and started ramming into pedestrians on the sidewalk. He drove down South Yonge Street for nearly 1.5 miles, hitting anything that came in his way. One eyewitness recalled seeing at least 6 or 7 people being hit and flying through the air. Footage of the rampage was captured through security cameras as well as witness phone recordings and car dash cams. With this footage, we are able to see firsthand how the event unfolded all the way to the moment of his arrest.
He's going to be crossed just south of Shepherd.
What you're about to now witness is an excellent display of policing by Constable Ken Lamb, who was able to think tactically and smart in a very hostile situation without resorting to violence.
Okay, who is in foot pursuit and where exactly are you? Heads up!
Come on, get down! Cody! No, get down! Get down! I'm cutting my pocket. I don't care, get down! I'm cutting my pocket. Get down! Get down and get the shot! Lead ahead!
3320, I'm heading over to Helter and see where you're along.
Sorry, 33, 32, are you calling?
Yeah, I'm heading over to 32 to help them out where they want me.
The last location I had is Young, south of D-Cross.
T-43 needs a unit here at Parkville. Multiple victims being ambulanced ASAP.
The aftermath of this rampage resulted in the death of 10 victims, ranging from the age of 22 to 94, as well as 16 other individuals being injured in the process. The Toronto community was in shock, as a massacre like this was never witnessed before. Many local businesses donated to the families of the victims, and thousands came to pay their respects at the vigil. After Minassian was arrested, he was taken to a Toronto police station to get booked, where he had this to say about himself.
I got to go through a questionnaire, Alec. Simple questionnaire we do for everybody, yes or no answers, okay? But it's important that you speak so that the microphones can pick you up. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Are you suffering from any recent injuries?
No.
Are you suffering from any illnesses?
Yes, I'm a murdering piece of shit.
The full police interrogation lasted almost 3 hours and was conducted by Detective Rob Thomas, who instituted a calm and relaxed environment for the suspect. Minassian seemed unremorseful and had a very nonchalant demeanor throughout the questioning process. He gave a full confession and a background story on how everything came to be.
Thanks so much. How you feeling?
Feeling good?
You feeling okay? My name's Rob Thomas.
Nice to meet
Hey, how are you? How are you? You doing okay?
you.
Yeah, you probably had better days than this, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am a little shaken, to be honest.
You're a little shaken?
It's not my usual day, obviously.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. When did you first, sorry, you mentioned this and I forgot. When did you first go on to 4chan?
2014.
2014, and specifically when in 2014?
May 23, 2014.
And how were you able to remember that?
Because I remember that was a very significant day.
Okay, what was that?
That was when Elliot Roger decided to essentially commit an uprising, a beta uprising, if you will,
right,
against the Chads and the Stacys. It was a beta uprising.
A beta uprising? Okay.
Although he didn't call it a beta uprising at the time. Someone else who was inspired by him, by the name of Chris Harper, called it a beta uprising sometime in, actually I believe it was October 1, 2015.
It was Elliot Roger who was the father of
basically
this.
the founding forefather of the entire movement.
Right. So explain to me this movement. What's this movement about?
It's basically a movement of angry incels such as myself who are unable to get laid. Therefore, we want to overthrow the Chads,
mm-hmm,
which would force the Stacys to be forced to reproduce with the incels.
Right.
I was starting to feel radicalized at that time.
You were, okay. And when you say radicalized, what do you mean by that?
Meaning I felt it was time to take action and not just sit on the sidelines and to just fester in my own sadness.
Right on. Okay. All right. So what takes place next as part of this growing radicalization?
To be honest, the planning didn't occur until about a month ago. Most of it was actually just thinking,
okay,
and daydreaming.
Okay, all right. So the thinking and daydreaming, when did that start?
That started about a month after the rebellion in May of 2014.
Okay, so
so in June I started thinking about this stuff.
And then that continued right up till about a month ago?
Yes, which is when I booked the van with the rider,
okay,
in order to use as a tool for rebellion.
Okay, all right. So take me through that process. What was going through your mind, and what were you thinking when you were doing all of this? What was going on?
I was thinking that it was a time that I stood up to the Chads and Stacys.
Okay. And then so what happened? So tell me what takes place.
So I booked the van.
Yep.
And then I just simply wait until today,
Yep.
and then I go rent the van, and then I drive it, take it downtown to Toronto,
Okay.
and I just start using it as a weapon.
Okay. All right. And so when you say that, what do you mean by that?
Meaning the vehicle collided with several pedestrians, some of who are no longer alive as a result.
Right. Okay. Okay. And so that's a lot of information. Take me back to a month ago. You said this is when this whole planning started?
Yes.
Okay. So about a month ago, where were you at that point?
I was at Seneca College, and I decided to phone Ryder and book either a truck or a van with them. And they had a 10-foot van available, so I figured that this is perfect. I can it's big enough to have an effect, but not too big that I can't maneuver with it. So the van was the perfect medium size to use as my weapon.
Nevertheless, you're at a stoplight. You said.
Yes.
And now are you faced with a red light? You're stopped.
Yes, but as soon as it turned green, I started going.
Okay, and just walk me through this. Okay, step by step. So it turns green, and what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that this is it. I see all these people. It's time to go for it.
Time to go for it. And what do?
I floor the pedal.
Yep.
I speed the van towards them, and I allow the van to collide with them.
Okay. And then what happens?
Some people get knocked out of the way. Some people roll over the top of the van.
Okay. And then what happens?
I continue doing that until in fact, actually, to be honest, the only reason I stopped my attack was because someone's drink got splashed on my windshield, and I was worried that I would crash the van anyway, so I decided, okay, now I wanted to do more, but I've kind of been foiled by a lack of visibility. So then that's when I turned right, and I saw the cops approaching, so I decided to pull over and get out of my van.
Okay. You physically stop your vehicle?
Yes.
You physically stop. So you end the assault?
Yes.
Okay. And you end it because you can't see?
Yes.
And you knew the cops were coming?
Yes.
Okay. And so then what happens at that point?
I see a patrol car pull over, and I hear the cops screaming at me to get out. So I get out, and I point my wallet at the cop with the intent for it to be confused with a gun, so that I could be fatally shot.
Okay. And was that something you were thinking about?
Yes.
I know. I mean, what I'm saying is,
even beforehand, I premeditated as an attempted suicide by cop.
You wanted to be killed by the police.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask why you decided to equip yourself with a wallet and not something else?
I was worried. I was thinking about purchasing a toy gun,
right,
but I was kind of paranoid that for whatever reason, the rental company would ask to see my pockets or any bag if I chose to bring that. So I decided to go as stealthy as possible so no one suspects anything.
Okay, all right. Nevertheless, you get out of the van. The officer correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure I get this right. You get out of the van because the officer orders you out?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to die by suicide by police. So you point your wallet at him?
Yes.
Okay. And do you say anything to the officer?
I actually told him that I had a gun in my pocket, which was untrue.
Right.
Then I twice stuck my left hand in my pocket and attempted to do this just to provoke a reaction.
Okay.
Unfortunately he didn't react. Right. So then I ended up being ordered to the ground. So I knew at that point he's not going to shoot me. So I've lost. So I had no choice but to just get on the ground.
I'm going to ask you this. because it's important. 10 people died here today. 15 people were seriously injured. I think it's important to ask how you feel about that.
I feel like I accomplished my mission.
You feel like you accomplished your mission?
Yes.
Okay. If the families of those people who were murdered and who were injured were in this room right now, what would you say to them?
I honestly don't know what I would say.
Would you apologize?
I honestly don't know.
No.
The trial took course over 6 weeks with no jury and was held by video conference due to the pandemic, and concluded on December 18th of 2020. Although he gave a full confession and admitted to everything during the police interrogation, Minassian pleaded not guilty to 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. His lawyer claims due to his autism spectrum disorder that he is not criminally responsible for his actions and that it left him incapable of making a rational decision at the time. The Crown prosecutor pointed to numerous comments Minassian had made to multiple psychologists that he knew what he did was morally wrong and that the reasons behind his attack had nothing to do with autism. Minassian also stated that he wanted to kill 100 people in an attempt to set a world record for mass killings, but he was satisfied with 10. Both psychologists assigned to assess his mental state said that he does not meet the requirements to be found not criminally responsible. The verdict in this trial is to be delivered at some point in March of 2021.